The world tells you that you're weak because you can't keep up. You wake up every morning already behind, chasing things that don't seem to fill you, and fighting 1,000 invisible wars that no one else can see. The alarm goes off, and before you've even stood up, your mind is already at war, with your doubts, your guilt, your unfinished plans, your reflection in the mirror. You tell yourself you'll do better tomorrow, but tomorrow always feels the same. Exhaustion without reason, effort without direction, strength without purpose. You scroll through other people's lives, comparing your behind the scenes to their highlight reels. You try to be productive, confident, disciplined, but something inside you keeps slipping. You think maybe you're just not strong enough. That maybe some people are built for greatness, and you're just not one of them. That quiet, hopeless thought creeps in, maybe I'm the problem. But what if you're not? What if you've just been fighting the wrong battle? Most people don't realize that the war that breaks them isn't fought in the world, it's fought in their own mind. You're not collapsing because you're incapable, you're collapsing because you've been pouring your strength into the wrong places. You've been trying to win wars that were never yours to begin with. You've been trying to impress people who aren't even looking, chasing goals that don't belong to your soul, and silencing the parts of yourself that are trying to tell you something. The world rewards noise, constant motion, constant growth, constant striving. It tells you to push harder, do more, be more. But what if strength isn't about pushing harder? What if strength is about knowing where to push? Because if you're climbing the wrong mountain, reaching the top won't make you victorious, it'll make you empty. There's a deep kind of exhaustion that comes not from doing too much, but from doing too much of what doesn't matter. You can't win a war that's misaligned with your purpose. You can't find peace in a battle that fights against who you really are. Most people aren't weak, they're just misdirected. They've been told that happiness is found in status, validation, and control, so they fight endlessly for those things, only to discover that the prize feels hollow. Imagine a soldier in a desert, swinging his sword at shadows, believing he's protecting something sacred, when in truth, he's fighting illusions. That's what so many of us are doing every day. We're swinging at ghosts, fear of rejection, fear of not being enough, fear of slowing down. We waste our power defending an image of ourselves that doesn't even exist. You think you're losing the fight because you're not disciplined enough, or confident enough, or talented enough. But maybe you're just fighting in the wrong arena. Maybe your strength isn't meant to be spent trying to prove your worth. Maybe it's meant to be used in the quiet act of accepting yourself. Because when your energy is constantly spent fighting to be someone you're not, you'll never have anything left to become who you are. Every struggle, every moment of burnout, every sleepless night, they're not signs of failure. They're signals. Your mind and body trying to tell you, this is not your war. You were not meant to fight for approval. You were meant to fight for authenticity. You were not meant to conquer the world. You were meant to master yourself. But the system you live in thrives on misdirection. It convinces you that strength is measured in success, that peace is a reward for perfection. And so you fight endlessly for a finish line that keeps moving. You exhaust your spirit trying to win a race designed to drain you. And when you finally collapse, you call it weakness. But it's not weakness. It's wisdom, disguised as fatigue. It's your inner self saying, stop. This is not your path. You were never designed to fight every battle. You were meant to choose your battles with intention. Yet you've been taught to respond to every demand, every noise, every expectation, to be available to the world but absent from yourself. The result is a kind of soul-deep tiredness that no amount of sleep can fix. Because rest doesn't heal misalignment. Only truth does. The truth is this: you are strong, but your strength has been misplaced. You've been giving your energy to things that don't grow you. You've been chasing validation instead of meaning. You've been trying to control everything instead of learning to surrender. The exhaustion you feel is not proof that you're weak, it's proof that you've been too strong for too long, fighting in a direction that doesn't feed your soul. You don't need to become stronger. You need to redirect your strength. You don't need to do more. You need to do what matters. The world doesn't need another fighter. It needs a warrior who knows why they fight. So pause. Breathe. Look at the battles you're fighting right now. The expectations, the goals, the fears, the comparisons. Ask yourself, Do these battles bring me closer to peace or further from it? Because the truth is simple, though rarely spoken. You are not weak. You are simply fighting the wrong battle. And the moment you stop swinging at shadows, the moment you choose to fight for something real, you'll see that you were powerful all along. You've spent most of your life being told that struggle is noble, that the grind defines your worth, that if you just push harder, wake up earlier, sacrifice more, you'll finally become the person you're supposed to be. But no one ever asked the more dangerous question: what if you're fighting the wrong war? Most of our battles aren't external, they're psychological. They happen quietly, beneath our daily routines, between the walls of the mind. You can look calm on the outside and still be at war within. Every thought, every doubt, every suppressed emotion. It's a battlefront. The world around you becomes a reflection of that inner chaos, and suddenly everything feels like resistance. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." This is the silent tragedy of modern existence. People fighting their own shadows, calling it destiny. The anxiety that consumes you, the habits that drain you, the endless self-criticism, they're not random. They're signs that you're wrestling with something inside you that's been ignored for too long. We grow up being told to conquer life, to be successful, attractive, productive, powerful. But in that pursuit, we often abandon the parts of ourselves that don't fit the image. The sadness, the doubt, the fear, the sensitivity, we hide them, shame them, repress them. And yet, those are the very parts that make us whole. Jung called this the shadow, everything we refuse to see in ourselves. The more we deny it, the more it controls us. The more we suppress it, the more exhausted we become. You can't heal what you keep fighting. You can't find peace while trying to destroy half of yourself. The battles that drain us most are the ones against our own nature. We fight our emotions because we were taught that vulnerability is weakness. We fight rest because we were told that productivity is virtue. We fight silence because the noise makes us feel alive. But every act of resistance against what we naturally are, sensitive, complex, imperfect, becomes a slow form of self-destruction. Nietzsche once said, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." But what happens when your why disappears? When you've been chasing dreams that were never truly yours? You wake up one day and realize you've been fighting battles that don't lead anywhere. The how becomes unbearable because the why was borrowed from society, from parents, from people you wanted to impress. That's when exhaustion becomes spiritual. It's not that your body can't keep up, it's that your soul doesn't see the point. The world celebrates outer conquest, promotions, achievements, appearances. But the deeper, truer battles happen in silence. The struggle to be honest with yourself. The courage to face your own emptiness. The decision to let go of illusions. These are the wars that actually liberate you, but they're invisible to everyone else. Most people are addicted to fighting the wrong battles because those are the ones the world rewards. Compete, outperform, outshine. It's easier to chase external validation than to sit in silence and face the truth. But every time you fight for attention, for control, for dominance, you lose something essential: your center. You trade peace for performance. The ego thrives on these false wars. It tells you that you're only valuable if you're superior, that your worth is conditional on constant achievement. And so, you pour your energy into constructing an image instead of building a self. You measure your value in comparison to others. You become addicted to proving instead of becoming. And that addiction is exhausting, not because you're weak, but because it's endless. There's no finish line in a race built on insecurity. Alan Watts once said, "The more you try to control the world, the less control you have." The same is true for the mind. The harder you fight to control everything, your emotions, your future, your image, the more chaotic it becomes. Life is not meant to be dominated, it's meant to be understood. But understanding requires surrender, and surrender terrifies the ego. We live in an age where overstimulation is disguised as passion and distraction is mistaken for purpose. You can spend your whole life fighting for things that numb you, chasing status, validation, certainty, and still feel hollow when you get them. Because the soul doesn't care about status, it cares about alignment. Real strength isn't about endurance. It's about awareness. It's knowing when your battle is no longer sacred, when it's draining rather than deepening you. It's the moment you realize that winning isn't the same as growing. The truth is, your exhaustion has a message. It's trying to tell you that your inner compass has been hijacked. You've been fighting battles that maintain the ego but starve the soul. You've been confusing activity with purpose. You've been mistaking motion for meaning. Jung believed that every human carries an inner call, an instinct toward wholeness. But the call is quiet. It doesn't shout like the world, it whispers. It doesn't demand you to conquer, it asks you to integrate. Every emotion you suppress, every insecurity you hide, every dream you bury, they're fragments of yourself waiting to be reclaimed. But to reclaim them, you must stop fighting them. You must stop labeling parts of yourself as good or bad, strong or weak, acceptable or shameful. The moment you start listening to your own chaos, you'll realize that it's not your enemy, it's your teacher. You're not broken because you feel lost. You're lost because you've been told to follow paths that lead you away from yourself. Society trains you to chase external meaning while ignoring internal truth. And so you end up living someone else's dream, fighting someone else's war, bleeding for a cause that never belonged to your soul. Imagine for a moment that every ounce of effort you've spent proving, striving, and resisting could be redirected inward, toward understanding, toward healing, toward authenticity. The battle wouldn't disappear, but it would transform. Instead of fighting the world, you'd begin fighting for yourself. Not for ego, but for essence. Not for recognition, but for meaning. That's what the great thinkers understood. Frankl endured the unthinkable and discovered that meaning, not comfort, saves us. Jung faced his own darkness and found wisdom hidden in the shadows. Nietzsche broke himself against despair and found power in the will to create meaning where none existed. And here you are, tired, yes, but not defeated. What you're feeling is not weakness. It's the soul's rebellion against falseness. It's your deeper self refusing to waste one more drop of energy on things that don't align with who you truly are. You are not lazy for slowing down. You are not fragile for feeling too much. You are not lost for questioning everything. These are the signs that your inner world is waking up, that the unconscious is rising, asking to be seen. The wars that matter most are invisible. The war to accept what you are. The war to forgive what you've been. The war to love yourself without condition. These are not the battles of weakness, they are the birthplace of wisdom. So when you feel like giving up, don't ask, why am I so weak? Ask, what am I fighting for? Because maybe, just maybe, your exhaustion isn't the end of your strength, it's the beginning of your truth. There comes a moment in every life when the noise becomes unbearable. The endless striving, the comparison, the chasing, it all begins to blur into a kind of quiet desperation. You start to wonder, what if the reason I feel lost isn't because I'm not enough, but because I've been running in the wrong direction? That realization, painful, humbling, and liberating, is the turning point. It's the moment your soul begins to whisper, stop fighting shadows. Find your real battle. You've spent years trying to fix yourself, as if you were broken. You've fought to control your emotions, to silence your fears, to fit into someone else's definition of strength. But maybe strength isn't about control. Maybe it's about connection, about aligning your energy with something meaningful. Viktor Frankl, a man who survived the depths of despair, once said, "Those who have a will to live can bear almost any how." He discovered that the human spirit isn't fueled by comfort or power, but by purpose. When you know why you fight, even suffering transforms into strength. But when you fight without purpose, even success feels empty. Your real battle begins when you stop asking, how do I win? And start asking, why does this matter? The right battle doesn't drain you, it deepens you. It doesn't harden your heart, it expands it. It doesn't make you bitter, it makes you clear. The wrong battle demands constant proof. The right one brings quiet conviction. The wrong battle feels like noise. The right one feels like peace, even when it's hard. Finding the right battle means confronting the illusions you've built your life around. It means looking at the roles you play, the achiever, the pleaser, the perfectionist, and asking whether they serve your soul or suffocate it. It's uncomfortable, yes. But this discomfort is sacred. It's the beginning of authenticity. To find your right battle, you have to face the silence you've been avoiding. You have to sit still long enough to hear what your life has been trying to tell you. In that stillness, the truth surfaces, not in shouts, but in whispers. The whisper might say, you don't need to prove yourself anymore. Or you've been chasing someone else's dream. Or it's time to come home to yourself. Carl Jung called this process individuation, the journey of becoming whole. It's the realization that you don't need to be perfect, only complete. And completeness isn't about fixing every flaw. It's about integrating every part of you, the confident and the insecure, the light and the shadow, the strength and the softness. When you stop fighting against who you are, your energy begins to flow naturally. You stop wasting it on resistance and start using it for creation. There's a quiet power in choosing your battles consciously. You begin to see that not everything deserves your energy. Not every invitation to conflict is worth accepting. You stop chasing every opinion, every judgment, every fear, and instead turn inward, where the real battle takes place. The inner battle isn't glamorous. There are no medals for facing your own pain, no applause for choosing peace over performance. But this is where transformation happens. The moment you choose to stop reacting to the world and start responding from your truth, you shift from survival to creation. This is what philosophers meant by the inner revolution. The realization that the world outside is a reflection of the world within. Change yourself, and your reality changes with you. You begin to see that life isn't happening to you, it's happening through you. Every challenge becomes a mirror showing you where your strength has been misplaced. When you fight the wrong battles, for validation, for control, for perfection, you become tense, defensive, brittle. But when you fight the right one, for meaning, for integrity, for peace, you become soft yet unbreakable. You begin to understand what Alan Watts meant when he said, you can't be in control and be at peace at the same time. The right battle is not about domination, it's about alignment. It's not about proving your worth, it's about embodying it. It's the decision to stop running from discomfort and start learning from it. To stop chasing pleasure and start pursuing purpose. You'll know you've found your real battle when it feels like truth, even when it hurts. When your actions feel congruent with who you are, even if the world doesn't applaud. When you can stand in silence and feel whole, even without recognition. That's the mark of a real warrior, not the one who conquers everything, but the one who no longer needs to. There's a story of a monk who was asked how he attained peace. He said, I stopped arguing with reality. The student asked, but isn't that giving up? The monk smiled and said, no. It's the beginning of seeing clearly. That's what finding your right battle feels like. Not giving up, but letting go of illusions. It's realizing that you can't control every storm, but you can learn how to walk through it without losing yourself. It's learning that surrender is not weakness, it's wisdom. Because when you stop trying to bend life to your will, you finally allow life to reveal its meaning. True strength is quiet. It's the ability to remain grounded when everything around you trembles. It's choosing compassion over anger, understanding over ego, presence over performance. The strongest people aren't those who fight everything, they're the ones who know what's worth fighting for. When you shift from reaction to purpose, from control to flow, something changes in your energy. You stop chasing life, and life begins to move with you. The same struggles that once broke you now teach you. The same silence that once scared you now restores you. The same wounds that once defined you now deepen your compassion. The right battle doesn't end suffering, it gives it meaning. You still fall, you still bleed, you still doubt, but now it's sacred. You're no longer fighting to escape pain, you're learning from it. You're no longer trying to dominate life, you're partnering with it. And in that alignment, exhaustion turns into endurance, and chaos turns into clarity. This is the moment where your story changes. When you stop trying to be strong in the world's way and start becoming strong in your own. When your energy is no longer wasted on fear but guided by purpose. You realize that you were never weak, you were simply misdirected. You were swinging your sword in every direction, trying to find meaning in the fight itself. But the real battle was never out there. It was always within you, between the noise and the truth, the ego and the essence, the illusion and the self. And the moment you choose to fight for what's real, your peace, your purpose, your authenticity, the war inside you begins to quiet. You no longer crave victory, you crave alignment. You no longer chase recognition, you seek truth. And that's the day your strength stops being a weapon and becomes wisdom. The hardest part of waking up is realizing the battle is over. Not because you won, but because you finally stopped fighting what was never yours. For the first time, silence doesn't feel empty, it feels alive. You begin to see that peace isn't the absence of struggle, it's the presence of meaning. You no longer mistake noise for life, chaos for movement, or exhaustion for purpose. You start to understand that strength was never about carrying more, it was about carrying what matters. You don't need to rebuild yourself into something greater. You just need to return to what's real. All your striving, all your proving, all your running, they were never signs of ambition. They were signs of disconnection. You were chasing the feeling of wholeness in things that could never give it to you. And now, finally, you see, the person you've been searching for was never lost, just buried beneath all the battles that didn't belong to them. There's a quiet power in this kind of surrender. You stop seeing life as an opponent to overcome, and start seeing it as a companion to understand. You move slower, but deeper. You speak less, but mean more. You begin to live with intention, not impulse. Every choice becomes a reflection of something sacred, your alignment with truth. Alan Watts once said, "When you stop trying to control the ocean, you learn to float." That's what this moment feels like. You're no longer thrashing against the current, no longer proving you can survive. You simply float, not because you've given up, but because you finally trust the water. You begin to see beauty in uncertainty, meaning in simplicity, peace in being. The storms still come, but they no longer define you. They pass and you remain. The world hasn't changed, but you have. The same noise that used to drown you now sounds distant. The same pressures that once defined you now feel irrelevant. You no longer need to prove your strength because peace has become proof enough. You realize that the right battle was never about conquering. It was about remembering. Remembering who you are beneath the fear, beneath the expectations, beneath the noise. So now, when you wake up and face the day, you don't ask, "What must I fight?" You ask, "What deserves my strength?" You protect your energy like something sacred. You no longer give it to every distraction, every fear, every illusion. You've learned that not every storm is yours to calm, not every mountain is yours to climb, and not every war deserves your soul. You were never too weak to win. You were simply fighting the wrong battles. And now that you've laid down your weapons, you can finally see, the strength you were searching for was never missing. It was waiting for you to stop fighting and start living. And as the noise fades, you realize that real power is not loud. It's quiet. It doesn't demand attention, it radiates presence. It doesn't seek control, it breathes acceptance. You stand there, unarmed but undefeated, and you understand. Peace is not the end of the battle. It's what remains when the war inside you finally ends.